as I introduce a segment that we love and are so proud of, and it's our chance to show you that we try to follow what's going on the planet. We're a planet in crisis, as you know. Sometimes you can lose it in all the other crises, but we talk about the planet in a segment we do on Thursdays called It's the Planet, Stupid.
The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet
Earth.
A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet stupid.
No. It's the planet stupid.
Our guide for It's the Planet Stupid's Belinda Waymouth, the eco-journalist. Hello, Belinda.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, and I'm interested in some of the legal efforts to call out the fossil fuel industry for some of the stuff they are doing. Can you, I don't know where you want to start, but I saw that among the things that you've been following is just that.
Yeah. Kim and I thought this would be a really important thing to discuss today. And I think it's, obviously we have to use every tool that we have. And the fact is, to go up against the fossil fuel industry legally, this is vital because they've caused all this damage. And who's footing the bill? Well, it's local municipalities and governments, which means us, the taxpayer. We are paying. We have higher insurance premiums. And then, we're the ones who are footing the bill for repairing damaged infrastructure. And, we're just at the, sort of the beginning. I mean, not really the beginning, because obviously this has been going on for years. But there's way, way more damage that's coming. And so I think the fact that governments are taking big oil to court is really important. And there's this nonprofit, an organization called Center for Climate Integrity. And they released a report a couple of months ago talking about what climate change is going to cost the state of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a big fossil fuel producing state. But how much is it going, how much is the damage going to cost them? And, why they're doing these reports and helping states, they're also helping Ohio as well, another big oil producing state, is, the bills are going to be huge. What they are estimating for Pennsylvania is about $1 billion a year in damage.
Now, can you put some, you talk about that, you talk about damage to infrastructure, et cetera. Can you just put a specific on it? Like, what does that mean? $1 billion in damage to what?
Well, it's what is climate change doing? It's the fires, it's the floods, so we're getting excess rain, we're getting excess snow if you're a state on the East Coast. We've got sea level rise. So, you've got these states that are, New Jersey's already talking about, we're building all these seawalls and we're doing this and we're doing that. Well, why should New Jersey taxpayers have to pay for a seawall when they actually haven't, here's the thing about the fossil fuel industry and what gets cited, because California announced their lawsuit against big oil back in September. And the big thing about it, and the thing that people really have to understand, and we've talked about it before on the show, big oil knew 50 years ago, they knew in the 60s that burning fossil fuels was changing the chemistry of the atmosphere, and that heating up the atmosphere was going to cause catastrophic weather events. They also knew there was a very small window where governments and communities could sort of readjust. But when the science started coming out against it, fossil fuel then spent millions of dollars discrediting the science. I had a neighbor yesterday sort of telling me, well, renewables are too expensive because of rare earth metals. I'm like, where did you get that talking point from? Well, those talking points come from the fossil fuels misinformation campaign. And when our governor, Gavin Newsom, launched the California suing of big oil, Shell instantly responded by saying, the courtroom is not the proper place to address combating climate change. It needs to be a collaborative, society-wide approach, which, it does, but it actually needs to be every single lever that we have now, where we, fight this, this problem, or, tackle this problem. And they, Shell sort of then said, we fully support the need to transition to a low carbon future. Well, the fact is, all these fossil fuels, companies say that, but then they do these, absolute sort of, about faces of any kind of green pledge that they've made as soon as there's some money to be made. They walk back on any of the, the pledges that they're making. And what's really interesting is that when voters are educated and find out that big oil knew about the damage that the burning of all the fossil fuels was going to create, and then started this misinformation campaign so that, they could obfuscate the science for as long as possible. They could stop any kind of action against fossil fuels, and their huge, multi-million, billion-dollar profits. Voters who know about that agree that those, that big oil should be footing the bill for the damage, that it shouldn't be the taxpayer.
I love that we talk about this, because this is, I often get, well, what can we do about it? What can we do about it? The reality is, and the state of the state is, that this is one thing being done. It's trying to slowly, incrementally perhaps, hold these oil companies and fossil fuel companies responsible for a lot of the damage that has been wrought by their policies. The door has been left open to doing that damage by government. I mean, rollback of minimal regulations or no regulations at all. And Montana, I wonder if you could just remind everyone about the Montana case brought by young people in a Montana court about the way in which the fossil fuel industry has been granted leasing rights in Montana. Because that's a case where those young people who brought that case actually prevailed.
Yeah, that was fantastic. The judge totally sided with them, saying, yes, it is constitutional. And this was a case by these young climate activists, actually against their state agencies, who were granting fossil fuel companies the rights to drill without any assessment of the damage that the greenhouse gas emissions would cause to them and their health. That yes, they have a constitutional right to have, clean air to breathe and clean water to drink. So that was, taking their state agencies to court. And what we're talking about, today, which I think is right. I think you have to hold them accountable, just as you have to hold, big oil accountable. And the fact is, so there have been more than 20 of these climate liability suits from local and state governments in the US. And this month in Hawaii, and this is, makes this the most important climate case in the US right now, their Supreme Court has ruled that a lawsuit against big oil can move to trial, because yes, they are right. Big oil has caused all this damage knowingly. This is the thing. It's just like, it's like the big tobacco playbook all over again. And in fact, they use the same lawyers that big tobacco used. Big tobacco knew that their product was, people were getting addicted, people were dying, but they were so dedicated to their profits. And, same way as the fossil fuel companies. I mean, the thing about the fossil fuel companies is it's not just the people who smoke and the people who get the secondhand smoke. We're talking about fossil fuel companies are poisoning the planet for everyone. So it's that thing, and I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, a handful of people get super rich and everyone else gets poisoned. And
I have to say that this, and it exists in our chat all the time. I mean, like this kind of thing. I'm assuming that all the young people in Montana have stopped using oil-based products. It's from Randy. Who likes to say that kind of thing. And fossil fuels, this is also built your EVs and power them. That's from Jolly Red. Yeah. We understand the idea isn't somehow that, let's be fair. There couldn't be some sort of consumer-based revolt against fossil fuel, the industry, the plastic industry, all the rest. It it can't happen sufficiently given the fact that we're inundated and our lifestyle is based upon it. It can't happen in a way that would make a difference. So the courts have to be used, as Belinda has said, as a lever against these fossil fuel industries that knew of the damage even as they exploit these situations. So this is true of the cases against Monsanto. So I guess so no one's using the pesticides? Is that what you're telling me, Mark? You don't use a pesticide? The reality is that if those are the only things out there, they do get used. But we've been a carbon-based economy for a long time. We're transitioning off of it. Yeah. So I think it's a weak sauce argument, I guess is what I'm getting to, and I should have gotten to it sooner. But it's a weak sauce argument to say, so I guess those young people, they don't use plastics at all? Come on, guys. Come on.
No. Look, here's the thing is we're in an uncomfortable transition. Fossil fuels were fantastic, and they completely were the power behind the industrial revolution, and still are in developing countries that are still industrializing. They are powering it. And, we owe a lot to that energy source, but we are now, uncomfortably aware of how polluting it is. We are destroying the, planetary systems on which our health and the planet's health, are completely reliant. And so now that we have all this knowledge, we need to transition and change.
Oh, lost Belinda for a second.
Stop driving immediately and stop using plastic. I mean, you look at people. There's a woman, I can't remember her name now. She's on Instagram, and they have a plastic-free life. Well, they spend their whole lives, shopping and doing to avoid plastic. It's like a full-time job. So,
sure,
yes, of course, this is an uncomfortable moment, but we have to embrace it, and we have to surrender. We just have to surrender to what is and accept the facts. Burning fossil fuels is polluting our home. We have one planet. A lot of us have children. People who are listening will also have grandchildren. We want them to, have a sustainable future. I mean, that's what the UN talks about, is we have to treat this planet in a sustainable way for the generations that come after us. And the fossil fuel industry is not doing that. And that is completely irresponsible.
We're dropping dead from cancers and a bunch of other things because we're inundated by these carcinogens and the pollutants that infect the soil, the water, and the air, in addition to this fossil fuel stuff. But I love the legal case. And by the way, somebody in the chat, I know I hate to respond to chats, but just because we have such little time. Somebody says, where is it? This is about EVs. Oh, here it is. Jolly says, no one is buying EVs. Dude, you're wrong. Everybody's buying EVs. In fact, the auto industry is scrambling to handle the demand for EVs. You may not see them in your neighborhood yet in sufficient numbers for you to be convinced, but trust me, my friend, read about it. You want to talk about a pivot? That is a massive pivot going on in Detroit. Look at the UAW deal that they just made. It refers to EVs in a big, big way. EVs are the future. It is coming. And so the idea that nobody's buying EVs, just the opposite. Sorry, wrong. So go ahead, Belinda. I'm sorry, we have another minute.
Well, we've talked about EVs on the show before. I mean, what they're doing in Asia with the EVs is unbelievable. China is the biggest producer of small EVs. They're going all over Asia. That thing we talked about the batteries, that you don't have to sit in a charging station. You have removable batteries. So you just drive in to, like you're going to a gas station and you switch out your empty battery for a full battery and away you go. I mean, the innovations that are happening with transport are huge. And the pivot that's being made to renewable energy, I mean, that's huge too. And, we do have naysayers whose, profits are totally tied to I'm going to call them the old ways, because they're going to be the old ways soon. And like I keep saying, it's, change is hard. It's super hard for human beings. We don't like it, but we have to do it for our own good. And if you have children and if you have nieces, nephews, this stuff is super, super vital. And I'm a person who's already had a cancer that's linked to benzene. And where does benzene come from? Benzene comes from the tailpipes of automobiles and
The stove.
oil refineries. And it used to be, men in their 70s, and the statistics were it was mainly black men. And when you think about Louisiana and Cancer Alley and where all those oil refineries are, who got multiple myeloma, the cancer that I got. And, I'd never heard of it before I got it. And now I'm hearing of people getting it all over the place, including a lot of other blood cancers. So,
Yeah.
It's game on. And I'm
And that
not saying,
cooking on the gas stove emits benzene as well, as you've mentioned.
yeah. And
I mean,
I just want to say, I'm not saying this stuff to say, bore me. I'm just pointing it out to say, like, ding dong, reality check, everyone.
No, it's ubiquitous. I mean, it's so everywhere that you just can't avoid it. That's the problem with these carcinogens. So anyway, to get back to square one, and on the EV thing, I'll just say this quickly. We started with these legal cases, and I think it's a great place to start. And there has to be, and you pointed this out before, some ownership of what happens on down the chain. When you produce a product that is not sustainable, you as a company need to own how society has to pay for the lack of that sustainability. You've made that point before when it comes to recycling and plastics and other things and fossil fuel-related products. But when it comes to EVs, and I'm just seeing a lot of this in the chat, that they're at 7% consumption right now. And it reminds me of what they say about bankruptcy. Bankruptcy, they say, it happens incredibly slowly and then all at once. That's how people go bankrupt. That's how companies go bankrupt. Incredibly slowly and then all at once. I would say that's where we are on EVs and a lot of essentially the reckoning moments that we're dealing with when it comes to the planet. It's happening incredibly slowly and then all at once. The pivot to EVs is big. It's real. And the chance that we have to grab to try to at least in some way pull back on the way the planet is warming. Those are my thoughts.
I just have to address Spencer here saying EVs catch on fire a lot in bad weather. That just isn't true.
No, I didn't see
Fossil
that.
fuel, what do we see when we watch a movie where people want to burn something? They use gasoline, they put it all over the stuff and they throw a match on it. Fossil fuels are way more flammable than EVs and there are many, many more fires.
Where's Kim when I need her? Spencer, how dare you?
I mean,
Spencer, please.
Yeah,
I love Spencer too, but come on. Spencer, now you're just throwing crap out there. It's outrageous. It's just outrageous, Spencer.
Good day, sir.
Exactly. My God.
It's just funny because we have these, this is just more information, misinformation. And it was like the thing, when you and I were talking the other day about how many birds get killed by wind turbines. So MIT data has just come out saying 27 times more birds are killed per unit of kilowatt hour produced by fossil fuels than by wind turbines. 27 times more. So you've just got to look where you're getting your facts and don't get them from the fossil fuel industry and big oil, please, because they are leading you down a path that is not good for you. It's not good for our planet.
Yeah, and you can't just pick one fact. You have to look at both facts from both sides. That is to say, the damage done by fossil fuel industry, and there is, the process of mining for those things that go in batteries. That's not a completely clean process at all, right? So you have to, I think you have to do that arithmetic as well. And
what you say is the political dogma
that's right.
that they're trying to shove down our throats.
Yes, that's right. That's my specialty. All right, so Belinda, love our time together. Thank you for launching an hour early today.
Yes, but totally my pleasure.
If you want to reach Belinda, you can find her on social media and all the different places that social media exists. You know what social media is. Belinda Waymouth is Waymouth. Belinda Waymouth, we love you, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Love you guys too. Bye-bye.
That's It's the Planet Stupid for today.
More.
It's the planet stupid. No, it's the planet stupid.
Next time, only on The Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.